You finally got it. The job, the relationship, the opportunity you spent years telling yourself you wanted more than anything. And for about 3 days, maybe 4, it felt exactly as good as you imagined. And then, quietly, without fully realizing it, you started picking at the edges. You showed up late to the thing you fought to get into. You started an argument you did not need to start. You stopped replying to the person who was actually good for you. You found reasons, very convincing reasons, to pull back right when things were going well. And some part of you watched yourself do it and thought, what is wrong with me? Here's the thing nobody tells you. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not secretly afraid of success. Your brain is doing exactly what it learned to do to keep you safe. The problem is, it learned those rules a very long time ago, and it never got the update. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why intelligent, capable, self-aware people destroy the good things in their lives, and why it has nothing to do with discipline or motivation. Because it's not a mindset problem, it's a safety problem.
You have probably had this experience. You set a goal, a real one, not just a vague wish, and for a while, you are completely on fire. You make the plan, you start the thing, you tell a few people, and then, somewhere around the point where it starts to actually become real, you stop. Maybe you stop dramatically, a crisis, a blow-up, a decision that blows the whole thing up overnight. Maybe you stop quietly. One skipped day becomes a week, becomes, I'll start again Monday. Monday never actually comes. Sound familiar? This is not a you problem. This is a pattern so common it has a name, and understanding that name is the first thing that actually changes it. Here is the first reason people self-sabotage, and it is one most people never see coming. Psychologists call it identity threat. In plain English, your brain has a very strong idea of who you are, and when your life starts to look different from that idea, your brain treats it like a problem to solve. Not because success is bad, but because unfamiliar is dangerous to a brain that learned to survive by predicting what comes next. Think about it this way. If you grew up in an environment where things falling apart was the norm, where instability was just Tuesday, your nervous system calibrated to that. It learned that chaos is familiar, and familiar to your brain equals safe. So when stability arrives, real, good, earned stability, your brain does not celebrate. It sends up a flare. This does not feel like home. Something must be wrong. And so, without consciously deciding to, you recreate the familiar. You pick the fight, you miss the deadline, you make the choice that puts you back on comfortable ground, even when comfortable ground was the thing you were trying to leave. But identity threat is only half the story, because there's a second force at work, and this one is sneakier. This one sounds like logic. Hendricks, therapist and author of The Big Leap, spent years working with high-achieving clients who kept destroying their own wins. He called what he found the upper limit problem. The idea is this: every person has an internal thermostat, a set point for how much happiness, success, and love they believe they're allowed to have. When life exceeds that set point, the thermostat kicks in. Not consciously, never consciously. But suddenly, you get sick right before the big launch, you start a fight with your partner the week of the promotion, you spend 3 hours on your phone the morning you were supposed to submit the application. The thermostat is doing its job, bringing the temperature back down to where it feels acceptable. You see this constantly in public life too. Think about every athlete, musician, or celebrity who reached the absolute peak of their career and then, seemingly out of nowhere, did something that leveled the whole thing. Not because they wanted to lose everything, but because somewhere inside, the height felt wrong, It exceeded their set point, and the body found a way back down. The terrifying part? Your upper limit was set by other people, by what you were told you deserved, by what you watched the people around you achieve or fail to achieve, by the stories you absorbed so young you mistook them for facts about yourself. And here's where it gets uncomfortably specific, because the way self-sabotage actually shows up in your life, it probably doesn't look like sabotage at all. It looks completely reasonable.
Be honest with me for a second. Have you ever, right before something important, suddenly decided that today is the day to reorganize your entire desk, or deep clean the kitchen, or respond to every email you have been ignoring for 3 weeks? Anything except the actual thing. And the worst part is, it does not feel like avoidance. It feels like productivity. It feels responsible, necessary even. Or this one, you meet someone good, someone patient and kind and actually available, and within 2 weeks you have mentally listed 17 reasons they are probably wrong for you. Not because they are wrong for you, but because easy, available, and kind does not match the emotional frequency you were calibrated to. Drama feels like love to a nervous system that learned love and chaos were the same thing. Psychologists call this unconscious repetition compulsion. Freud named it. Every therapist since has watched it play out in session after session. In plain English, your brain reruns old patterns not because it wants you to suffer, but because it is trying to master something it never got to resolve. The problem is, the reruns never end until you change the channel on purpose. If you've ever watched Fleabag, the Phoebe Waller-Bridge series on Amazon Prime, you watched Self-Sabotage written as high art. Fleabag is brilliant, funny, deeply lovable, and she burns down every good thing in her life with surgical precision, not because she is a villain, because she genuinely does not believe she deserves what she keeps almost having. That's the thing about self-sabotage. It almost always wears the face of someone who is trying very hard. So what do you actually do with all of this? I'm not going to give you a 5-step system, because the research, and honestly, basic human experience, shows that systems aren't what breaks self-sabotage. What breaks it is one thing: noticing the pattern before the pattern completes. That's it. That's the whole move. The next time you feel yourself pulling back from something good, the next time the urge to blow it up arrives dressed as a logical reason, just pause long enough to ask one question. Is this actually a problem, or does this just feel unfamiliar? You don't need to solve it in that moment. You don't need to understand the whole history of why. You just need to create one small gap between the pattern and the action. Because in that gap, that one moment of pause, you're no longer running on the old program. You're choosing, and choosing, even once, even imperfectly, is how the thermostat starts to change. Remember the person at the beginning of this video, the one who finally got the thing they wanted, and then, quietly, without understanding why, started picking at the edges. They weren't self-destructive, they weren't ungrateful. They were running an old piece of code that was written in a completely different time for a completely different version of their life. The code wasn't wrong then. It kept them safe when safe was hard to come by. It's just running in the wrong era now. And the moment you see the code, really see it, not just intellectually understand it, but feel yourself about to run it, that's the moment it loses its power over you. You're not the person who always blows it. You're the person who finally figured out why. If this hits somewhere specific for you, drop it in the comments. Not because the algorithm loves engagement, although it absolutely does, but because someone else is going to read your comment mid-sabotage at 2 in the morning and feels slightly less alone in it. If you want to keep pulling on this thread, the next video is about why people who are deeply afraid of abandonment are often the first ones to leave. Same psychology, different face, and somehow even more relatable. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you there.